So Labor Community Services of Peel is a nonprofit organization that provides free legal support related to employment law. In the last 2 years, LCSP has received calls from over 165 truck drivers needing support primarily related to misclassification, wage theft, illegal deductions, harassment, unsafe working conditions, and more. Most drivers contact us after exhausting all other options, with their employers having been forced to leave their jobs due to unpaid wages or deductions amounting in thousands of dollars. Despite attempted negotiation, polite requests, and pleading, legal support becomes their last resort. When drivers inform their employers of their intention to take legal action, their response is often dismissive, with the employer showing no fear of the consequence, even when they are aware of their wrongdoing and the worker has all their evidence. They often say, "Jo karna kar lo, asi nahi paise dene," which translates to, "Do whatever you want, we're not going to pay." While we see this problem both at the provincial and federal level, the majority of workers who call us are federally regulated and have a harder time accessing justice through the federal labor claim process. However, we see similar issues of misclassification, wage theft, lack of enforcement at both levels, and that's why we have invited both MPs and MPPs here today. After receiving so many calls and filing so many claims with the Ministry of Labor, we still saw workers struggling to get their wages and continue to receive more and more calls each day. This was not just 1 or 2 drivers and not just 1 or 2 companies. It was hundreds. Not only that, but truck drivers have shared that their wages and working conditions are continuing to deteriorate on an industry-wide level. What was once a well-paying job has become a precarious, dangerous, and stressful job. In fact, statistics show that between 2017 to 2022, 85% of confirmed employer wage violations were found within the trucking industry, even though truck drivers only make up 17% of federally regulated workers. So we sat down with drivers to ask them, what are the main problems that you're experiencing, and where are the laws and regulations failing to protect you? And that is how Justice for Truck Drivers emerged. This is a movement created and led by truck drivers themselves. Today, you will be hearing from so many brave drivers who will be sharing their experiences and the changes that they're demanding from the government in order to feel like they can actually access the laws that are supposed to protect them. You'll see that we are actually joined by so many drivers here today who have experienced these issues, and if you look around the wall, you'll actually see that drivers have posted how many wages they're owed and how long it's been that they're waiting for them. So these are all from actual drivers sitting here today. After hearing from the drivers, we will be hearing from some organizations that have been supporting the campaign, and then from our elected officials as well, who will be sharing their thoughts and their plans of action. And then at the very end, please stick around because Chaitana Cultural Center will also be doing a short skit that highlights the difficulties faced by newcomers in the workplace when they come to Canada and they're trying to look for work. So first, I would like to call up our fast lane trucking workers. So there are 20 workers here who are owed $78,000, and I'm going to be asking them to share their experiences with you.
Hello everyone, my name is Lavjot Singh and I am here with my several co-workers today. We were hired by either Fastlane or 10-4 Systems. However, we received our payment statement from the Fastlane Trucking, whose director was Hardev Singh Thaggad. We were told that this company pays well, but on time as well. But today, we are 20 of us drivers approximately owed $78,000. We all know that trucking plays an important role in our economy. Even though we provide an essential services, we are experiencing a distressing trend of some trucking companies failing in their responsibility to compensate us fairly and promptly. My hardship began when I received my first paycheck, which got bounced. Repeated assurance from the owner for prompt payment fell through, when then started receiving partial payment instead of agreed bi-weekly wages. By February 2023, payment delays become a regular occurrence, and we found ourselves 1 month behind on payments. We tried to reach our accounting team as well as the owner of the company as well, but they kept saying that it will be done within like 2 or 3 weeks. It kept on going for approximately a month, and then we were lagging our 1 month payment.
Hello guys. So imagine for a moment our plight. We are hardworking truck drivers who dedicated our time and efforts to ensure the smooth functioning of our supply chains. We spend countless hours on the road away from our loved ones, ensuring good reach businesses and consumers. Our wages are the lifeline for supporting our families, paying bills, and meeting our basic needs. Yet, companies like Fastlane Truckers shattered this sense of security, leading to financial instability and forcing some of us to seek employment elsewhere. Leaving behind our unpaid wages, some of us are tortured to an extent that we are scared of working in this industry ever again and end up working in a different sector. The other half tries to explore options to receive our unpaid wages. These options are filing a labor complaint against the employer with the labor program's help. But we fail to understand that why this is a such time-consuming and long process. It can take up to 1 year. So employers have a way around this to beat the system. Companies like Fright Systems threaten to file bankruptcy before payment order are issued. Other companies shut their doors and start a business under a different name, usually becomes a partner of another transportation company. This is not the first time a company has done this to my fellow drivers. They have been exploiting us for years. Just like Fright case, this company is still open and hiring new workers. In situations like this, where so many workers are filing claims from one company, the government needs to step in and stop the company from continuing business until all workers are paid.
So Fastlane has agreed that they owe us this money, but they still continue to make excuses and delay our payments. They have made several payments plan in written but continue skipping payments deadline. So far, most of us have only received a portion of our total wages. We are feeling very depressed, and this is impacting our personal lives so much. We have to pay our bills, and cost of living is so high. The government needs to step in before they steal more workers' wages, or the company can sell all their assets and claim bankruptcy. Today, I urge the federal government to expedite our cases so that Fastlane does not have time to outsmart the system. No worker should be left struggling for sustain themselves and their families due to negligence and irresponsibility of their employers. I also urge our other elected representatives to fix the system, process our claim faster, enforce payment orders, and enforce strict consequences against employers who break the law over and over again. And also, I request to the media that you help us when we all have proofs to highlight and bad employers who are running their trucking industry and exploiting hard-working drivers. The system is so bad that we have no choice but to try and pressure the employer to pay us. We need your support to stand against injustice and hold employers accountable. Let us remember the crucial role we all play in the economy, and it's time to stand up for the rights of hardworking individual like us. I implore everyone to join hands to put an end to this cycle, exploitation, and create a fair environment for all the workers in the trucking industry. That's all. Thank you.
Can we give another round of applause to these brave workers for sharing their story? Next, I would like to call up the Son Freight Systems workers. So they're representing 20 workers who are owed over $124,000.
Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gagan. So I was a dispatcher with Son Freight, and I was also a victim of the wage theft along with the 18 of my co-workers. I started working at the Son almost 3 years ago. At first, everything, was all right. But after that, COVID hit and everything started delaying, and my payments started delaying from the starting by 1 week. But after that, like as the time is passing, it started becoming 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then 1 month, then it became 3 months. It wasn't just happening with me, it was happening to both the drivers and dispatchers. Only when a driver is refused to go to work, they would pay, but then the same situation would happen again. When it became too much, I refused to work and they told me they will pay me tomorrow, but instead of paying me, they told me not to come from the next time. So we don't need your services any longer. So, but I also did not get any notice. At that time, my $21,000 were left with them. I had to follow up again and again every day. But after that, like 3 weeks, I got something, but after that, there is nothing. So it was back in December 2021. But now I'm still waiting for 2 months of my all pay. It was such a struggle during that time. My family was not rich coming from India. I was the only one supporting myself and my parents. They could not work because they were on the visitor visa and I had to use my credit cards for which I had to pay 24% interest. I had to pay thousands of dollars back in interest because I was not paid my wages. I was accumulated 15,000 to 20,000 in debt. I feel depressed when I think about it. My co-worker had to send his family back home to India because he could not support them here anymore. He was owed over $13,000. I filed a labor code complaint on May 2022. I was the 5th worker to file within 2 months through the Labor Community Services of Peel. Even though we told that the labor program that this company has done this to so many workers, the labor program did nothing. They kept giving time to the employer until they realized how serious the situation was. We even had a meeting with the Ministry of Labor as well as who did nothing. When I filed the complaint, Son Freight was still hiring new workers. A few months later, around 15 more workers also filed the complaint. More and more workers suffered because the labor program did not take action in time. I am owed currently $13,000 as a group. We are owed over $125,000 in total. I received my payment order in September, but the company did not pay me yet. The labor program did not enforce the payment order yet. Now the company has shut down and we might never get our money. All of us 20 workers now have the payment orders, but gaps in the law mean that the orders have not been enforced. We may never get our wages, and the director of the company of Tarson will face no consequences. My payment orders have been filed at labor court, but now I have to figure out by my own how to get my money. This country is in desperate need of truck drivers, but this is how the workers are allowed to be treated. We are here today to demand the federal government protect workers and make sure that we get paid. Otherwise, what is the point of filing a labor complaint, and what is the point of having a laws? How are we supposed to believe that the government that we work so hard and pay taxes to? So that's all from my side.
Thank you again to these brave workers for sharing their stories. I just want to repeat again, so they have payment orders from the labor program, but right now it means nothing. So that employer is not being forced to pay, is facing no consequences, may file bankruptcy, has already threatened it, and that would mean that they get nothing and no consequences for him. We have two more workers that we'd like to hear from. So next, I would like to call up Manjinder Singh, who is also owed money and will be sharing his story. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I am sincerely grateful for this opportunity to address you today and share a story. A very warm welcome to Honorable Member of Parliament from NDP, Liberals and Conservatives. In 2021, I joined JHK Golden Express working for Jatinder Singh as a truck driver. From the start, it was a challenging experience. Although I worked diligently, it took 3 months before I received my first paycheck. During my time there, I faced pressure to work long hours, and the truck I was assigned was poorly maintained, leading to frequent inspection and violation due to safety concerns. When the situation became unbearable and I was owed over 10,000, I had no choice but to leave the job. Unfortunately, leaving job left me in a dire financial situation as I had to pay bills and no money in my account. I pleaded with my employer to help me cover my expenses. Even I showed him my bank account, the screenshot which I took, but he refused, leaving me with no options but to borrow money from my friends and ask for an advance from the next employer. In August 2021, I filed a labor complaint with the Federal Labor Program for unpaid wages. However, the process proved to be excessively time-consuming and frustrating. It took nearly a year before a payment order was issued in June 2022, stated that I was owed $10,620. Unfortunately, even after the payment order, I still did not receive my rightful pay. It became evident that some employers do not take the payment order seriously. In October 2022, another payment order was issued to Jatinder Singh in October 2022. The director of the company, yet he still did not fulfill his obligation. It has now been 2 years since I filed my complaint, and I am left empty-handed, not having received a single dollar of what I am owed. This prolonged and disappointing process has left me with deeply frustrated. I feel like a real-life example of someone victimized by a negligent system. The labor program stated that they cannot retrieve the money from the employer, and now the burden falls on me to enforce the payment order. To do so, I must hire a lawyer, which will cost additional money, further reducing the already substantial amount I am owed. The impact of inflation over the 2 years has diminished the value of my money, and these circumstances are pushing me toward depression. I am not alone in this situation, as there are hundreds of other drivers facing similar challenges. It feels like both the employer and the government exploiting us. I am convinced that this is significant failure of the government system, leaving immigrant and the workers like myself vulnerable to exploitation and hardships. Despite having ample proof of my work, the 3 payment order issued, justice has remained elusive for 2 years. It is evident that reforms are needed within the federal labor program. Labor officers should be empowered to enforce payment order, and the employer must face consequences for non-compliance. Jatendra Singh, for instance, has faced no consequences, while I continue to suffer the consequences of delayed wages. When an employer does not pay on time, they should have to pay interest on our unpaid wages and face heavy fines. Otherwise, employers are making so much money from stealing wages. This is an incentive for them to break the law. The process has forced me to invest precious time and energy, resulting in frustrating periods of time off work. The government must take necessary steps to protect workers like us. To our esteemed Member of Parliament, you represent the voice of our concerns. We demand that you not wait until someone reaches such extreme frustration that they contemplate ending their own life. It is disheartening to witness this beautiful land of opportunity, Canada, transforming into a land of exploitation. We urge you to promptly address this pressing issue without delay. We cannot afford to wait for several more years for a resolution. Speed and swiftness in your actions are crucial to tackle this matter effectively. Please act quickly and decisively. Rules are made in labor code to help us, not to exploit and waste our time. Use your power you have in the House of Commons if you can. We would love to see that you are taking further steps for us. We demand justice. We demand justice. We demand justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Manjinder. And we have one final worker who would also like to share today that is owed approximately $40,000. I'd like to call up Karan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here. I have been a truck driver working in the trucking industry for the last 2 years. During that period, I worked in several companies, but wherever I went, I faced the same issue of wage theft. At the first company I worked, this has been a trend. They will hold your 2 weeks of pay as a security deposit, which is like they shouldn't do. And then they, after initially paying me, like after working for a few weeks, they told me that you have to do interstate work, which is illegal, and I might get deported if I ever did that. After I refused, they did not pay me for the whole month that I have worked for the company. Now I do have to file a labor code case against this company, but it has been 1 year and I haven't seen my money again. After this, I joined another company, hoping I would not have to face the same issue again. But little did I know, the company I'm joining, they took systematic advantage of each and every worker, and they took advantage because they know the system very well. They know how the weak labor code procedures are. The company paid me at the start, but like after 1 month, their check started to bounce. The owner started to making many excuses and only paid me small amounts. So let's suppose if for 1 month I'm earning 5,000, or he will just give me like 1,000. Okay, so just to keep me working. He slowed the payroll procedures to delay our pay. He made many excuses and even disappeared from his office when all of the workers from my company would go to see him, okay, what's going on with our paychecks. In a period of less than 1 year, he did not pay me for a total of 6 months of work. I owed him around $40,000 in unpaid wages and expenses. Now, this is not limited to myself. There were other workers, truck drivers, dispatchers, mechanics. He did to everybody, everybody. I have many friends. I called many of my friends, and they told me the same thing. Oh, somebody owes 5,000, another 1,000, another 15 to $16,000. And these are the truck drivers who has worked with me. They work in cities. They work on highways. I have witnessed my family endure extreme hardship. With 4 of us living in a single room, it's a shame for me that I'm in this beautiful land and I invite my parents over here, and I'm forced to just keep them in one room. It's a shame that I work so hard, but I cannot provide a good finance to my help and the luxuries which I should be to my families, even if I work so hard. Now, to support my family, I have to resort to taking loans. And now I'm burdened with $20,000 of debt. I took this debt from my friends who have helped me. And now, for the last year, I owe $13,000, which I have to pay the federal government as taxes, but I can't do it because I didn't get paid from my work, from my office. Drivers like me and our families bear the brunt of these difficulties. When we tell our employers that we are going to file a labor code complaint against them, they simply tell us, oh, do whatever you want to do. Labor code is bullshit. You will be stuck there for years. My owner, he called me in his office and said me these words, that labor code is bullshit. You can do whatever you want to do. Now you can see, they know the system better than us. They know that, okay, this employee is going to fight for like 1 or 2 years, and in that time we're going to make millions. So if he owes like 20,000 from me, I'll just buy a new truck, get a driver to work there, and I can make more money. He should not take our money. He should apply to the bank for that much money. Now, these companies are very clever. Now, what do these companies do? These companies have developed a way to avoid enforcement by creating multiple companies. The first company and the second company, they both had this system. So I was hired by one company. My dispatcher was under a different company, where I went to register is a different company. And from where I get all the proofs, like if you go to labor code, the labor code will ask you, okay, how you were getting dispatch notice, how you were getting, okay, what work you should do. A different company will set me all these instructions, okay, you have to pick up from here and drop there. And when we are getting paid, on the payroll, on the pay stub, there's another different company name. It's all the same director, but he operates under different companies. So just to avoid a legal battle. Now, in my experience, I was also like hired by one company, dispatched by another, and my labor code complaint is still under review. It's been 8 months just because I put a single company name in my labor code form. Now, the labor code officer asked me, now you have different company names. How can you owe like different companies? I said, this only is the same director. He's using different names. So I cannot we cannot have a complaint under him. So because I was paid by different companies with the same director, my claim might get rejected. I also don't have another option to file another complaint because the labor code has 6-month period to file your complaint. Yesterday, I spoke with a lot of workers. Everybody told me, okay, I work for one company. They owe me like $5,000, $6,000, but we cannot complain against them because our 6-month period is already gone. There are workers who have waited so long, but justice is not like finding way to them, right? So this leaves me with one option, which is to file in small claims court. That has a period of 2 years, but unfortunately, I have to hire another lawyer. So I owe this much money I owe. So I have to pay another $4,000 or $5,000 to another lawyer. So if the person like file a bankruptcy, I'll lose that money and my legal fees also. Finally, these companies lure workers without PR status by saying them they will provide them LMI. They literally sell them LMIs, but they are very clever to hide it. They are very, very clever. So when a driver goes to work, to know, okay, so they set a rate. They say, we will pay you half of what we pay our regular workers, so we can compensate the $25,000 for the LMI. They sell these LMIs for $25,000. That's the current rate is going on. And like there were many workers in my company. They were told that our employer will provide them LMI, but my employer, he did the same. He didn't pay them, even if he's paying them half the wage as a regular employee, but he didn't pay them. But what about those workers? They are dependent upon the employer to provide them immigration documents. I spoke with one of the worker yesterday. He told me that he cannot file a complaint against my employer because if he did, the employer is not going to support him for his PR. Now he's just like waiting and just working under harsh conditions and low wage. I strongly urge the federal government to protect workers like myself in this country. We work so hard and we have to suffer so much. Claims need to process faster and employers need to face consequences, especially when they break the law again and again. In this, my company alone, I can guarantee that there were 10 to 15 employees who were not paid at all. Now they know, they just feel like they can break the law again and again. We also need to reform our immigration laws because we cannot let these people sell LMIs and then the people, they'll suffer. We need to reform our immigration law to make sure that workers are not left at the mercy of employers to get their permanent resident status. Every day I see my employer riding on his new pickup truck. Every day he goes to work on his new pickup truck and he got a good nice wrap on it. He has money to pay on the luxuries and roam around the city, but he won't pay us. In every corner, it's not about these companies which I visited. Let's put that aside. Every intersection you go, you will find an office for one trucking company, and there are hundred of these people in the GTA who are doing this. They are selling LMIs, they are stealing wages, and they don't face any consequences because they just threaten us, okay, we will just do bankruptcy and then you won't see a penny. They are already operating under 3 or 4 names. So even if you file complaint against one company, he will say, okay, you were working on another company and the first company is already bankrupt, so you won't see your money. And he just continue his operations. I thank you all for coming here, and please, I'll request everybody to help us. Thank you.
Can we thank the workers again for sharing their stories? As you can see, these are real life workers that are going through this every single day. So Justice for Truck Drivers has been meeting bi-weekly since January of this year to discuss and determine what are the main systemic issues that have fueled the deteriorating wages and working conditions in this industry. So there's 3 main issues that workers have identified that have come up repeatedly. The first, misclassification. So misclassification is when workers are treated like independent contractors, but they're actually employees under the law. Misclassification is illegal, but we see it happening with most of the cases that come to us, and employers use this practice to save money and avoid responsibility. As a truck driver, you are generally an employee if you do not own the truck you are driving. However, when employers hire these drivers as independent contractors, they engage in illegal practices such as withholding pay illegally as a security deposit, deducting money for damages, telling drivers they cannot leave the company before 6 months, and refusing to pay wages. They also avoid paying vacation pay, overtime, general holiday pay, paid sick leave, and much more. Yep, WSIB, the list goes on. So drivers are often being forced or encouraged to work as independent contractors because they generally receive higher pay or better hours when they agree to do so. However, workers should not have to choose between decent pay and having all of their rights. So this practice is one big reason that all of the drivers' wages and working conditions are being undercut in the industry, because it allows employers to use illegal practices to force drivers into precarious and unsafe working conditions, and it reduces their power to demand better rights and wages. The second issue that we're seeing that was talked about, immigration policies. So this is particularly evident in the trucking industry, where the use of LMIAs has created a system where workers with precarious immigration status can easily be exploited. LMIAs were designed to address labor gaps in the Canadian labor force by allowing employers to hire foreign workers when suitable candidates are hard to find. However, many employers in the trucking industry are exploiting the LMIA requirement system to gain control over employees so they can pay low wages and ignore their rights. Employers with a monopoly in the job market are taking advantage of the scarcity of LMIAs, and they extort money from desperate foreign workers who are seeking positions. So we hear, as you heard from the worker before, they're being sold for $20,000, $10,000, $30,000. We have heard outrageous amounts. And then the demand for job letters gives employers leverage to dictate salaries and working conditions, making it difficult for employees to speak up about their concerns. So another thing that we hear is even whether or not they're first of all forced to pay for the LMIA or the job letter, once they are working there, that's an excuse that's used and held over their head, that until they get their documents, they're paid less wages, so really low amounts, forced to drive maybe illegally or in unsafe working conditions, and basically forced to do anything and not be able to speak up under threat of not being able to get the documents that they need to apply for permanent resident status. Exactly. So this system puts workers in a vulnerable position. So we demand immigration reform that does not put workers at the mercy of employers and ensures that they're able to access their rights without fear of reprisal or fear of not being able to get their PR status. And finally, the other big one that you've been hearing today, lack of enforcement and consequences from the government. When you have laws but workers can't access them, they essentially mean nothing. When employers can break the law without consequences, they mean nothing. So the government needs to move from a voluntary compliance system to an enforcement model, because wage theft and other labor violations have now become industry-wide accepted practices. When we go to employers and we call them or have a conversation and say what you're doing is illegal, you have to pay the worker, they say everyone is doing this. That is how common it is, and they think that it's okay. When there is no enforcement, workers are unable to speak up in the workplace because they know that they will likely lose their job, and any justice that they might be able to access will be limited and will likely take years to get. They cannot afford to lose their jobs or their pay. As such, they do not just face wage theft, they also share stories of being pushed to work, like I said, illegal hours, illegal interstate work, unsafe trucks that they're forced to drive, tickets that they're getting because of what the employer is forcing them to do, being harassed and threatened, and so much more. So I would like to show you the full list of the Justice for Truck Driver demands. If we started talking about all of the issues, it would take way too long than the time we have here today. So we have our demands here. I would also like to show everybody the Justice for Workers website, where you can find the Justice for Truck Drivers information. And we urge everyone to get involved. So we already have one way that you can take action today. Oh, sorry, I actually want to show one other thing. So I'm going to speak in Punjabi as well, just for a little bit. So ਇਹ ਆਪਣਾ website ਹੈਗਾ justiceforworkers.org. So ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ demands ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੇ you can sign up for future meetings and events that you can find here. So if you click on the meetings and events section here and scroll down, you'll see that our next meeting is Saturday, September 16. So everybody please sign up here on the website and make sure that you come out. And then the final thing that I want to ask everyone to do today. So सारे आज एक action ले सकते हैं ताकि ये campaign ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਈਏ. Can everybody, could you go to the PowerPoint? Perfect. Text this number, text the word justice. So ਤੁਹਾਡੇ phone ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੱਢੋ, ਇਸ number ਤੇ justice word ਲਿਖ ਕੇ text ਭੇਜੋ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ link ਆਊਗਾ. You're going to get a link to our online email tool. When you sign up there, you put your name, your postal code, and your email, and you will send an email to all of the relevant, relevant ministers and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau asking to make these changes immediately. So can everyone please do this right now? So apna phone ਕੱਢ ਕੇ text justice to this number right now. ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ link ਆਊਗਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ name ਭਰਨਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ email, ਤੇ ਪੋਸਟਲ ਕੋਡ ਸਿਰਫ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਐਮਪੀ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਈਮੇਲ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਦੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਲੋੜ ਆ। I'm just going to give everybody a minute to do that. Thank you. The link that you get, you can also share. So please share it with your family and friends. So ਜਿਹੜੀ link ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੇਗੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ family friends ਨਾਲ share ਕਰੋ। ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ email ਭੇਜਾਂਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਹੀ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਵੀ how many people care about this issue. Okay, so next we're just going to be hearing very quickly from some organizations that have been supporting the Justice for Truck Drivers campaign from the very start. They have provided a lot of resources and time to help our drivers organize for change. So I'd want to thank them and invite them. And one thing I forgot to mention for media, folks with a ribbon and all of the speakers, the drivers that spoke today, please, if you'd like an interview, please reach out to them as well. So first I'll be introducing Milan from the Workers Action Centre.
Thank you, Navi, for having me today, and thank you for Justice for Truck Drivers campaign to have me here today. So I'm an organizer with the Workers Action Centre. Our center supports workers mainly for non-unionized workers, temp agency workers, contract workers, and those who are facing problem at work, who want to fight for their rights. We have a membership of workers, and we organize in different parts of the city. We are one of the main organizers for the Justice for Workers campaign, which is a fight across Ontario to make sure workers have decent working conditions and can fight for their rights. We are fighting for 10 paid sick days and $20 minimum wage, protections against unfair firings, strong enforcement of the law, and much more. We organize in the Chinese community, Tamil community, Latinx community, Somali community, Bengali community, Black and immigrant and migrant communities. People are joining this fight as they know it is up to all of us to stand up for decent work. No one else is going to do this. I'm here to support your fight, the truck drivers' fight, your fights for decent work and fairness. Wage theft, misclassification, and lack of enforcements are issues faced by workers, not just in trucking. We support workers in cleaning industries, constructions, sales, and other industries facing the same issues. We have received many calls at the Workers Action Centre from truck drivers across Ontario when their wages are stolen. This issue is also just not in the Punjabi community. I have been supporting truck drivers from the Somali community, Tamil community as well, facing wage theft and misclassification. We cannot let these terrible situations continue. We need to stand together to send a strong message to all employers that wage theft is a crime. Illegal deduction should not be allowed, and these employers have to be held accountable for how they treat us. When we unite and fight, we can win. When we organize and bring workers together with our communities, we can build our power to push for what we want. We have won changes in the minimum wage, got paid sick days, fought for improvement at the Ontario level for workers to fight against unfairness. We can do the same at the federal level. So we should never give up. We are here with you in solidarity and keep the fighting going. Thank you. Thanks.
We might have had a small tech issue. If you did text Justice and you didn't get a link, just text again right now. So it should be working now. So again, je tusi Justice text kita siga tonu koi link nahi mili ek bari dobara kar lo. Thank you so much, Milan. And also, can we give a shout out to Rajan here? He also has been doing our tech, and we couldn't have done the press conference that we did 2 weeks ago without their support as well. So thank you so much. Next, I would like to introduce Raj Sani from AZCTA Trucking Association. This group has been a part of the campaign since the start. They have come to every single meeting and event to support truck drivers in their fight for justice.
Hello everyone, and good afternoon everyone. My name is Raj Sani, and I'm also president for the AZCTA Trucking Association. We represent more than 400 truck drivers around the GTA. Firstly, we want to acknowledge that thanks all of the good fleets and the companies that treat their worker well, but we know that issue of misclassification and wage thefts are so common in the trucking industry, especially around in like GTA. So we hear stories from the odd drivers all the time and every day. That is why we have been a part of this campaign since day one. And that is why AZCTA is a proud supporter of the Justice for Truck Driver campaign. And we stand with the driver against wage theft, misclassification, and all other forms of abuse. And all other, the government's job is to protect workers, to make sure new immigrants are not exploited. So the government need to enforce laws and make sure the bad employer face strict consequences. And to all of the elected officials here today, we ask that you please support drivers in their demands, because they are the backbone for this economy. And those are the people like who run this economy. You know, when it was a COVID time, nobody was like to get out from the home. Only the driver was the one like who even not allowed to use the washroom though. They still take the load for you guys to Texas and hauling the tissue paper for you guys here. That's the biggest deal we ever created for the people. But how they treated us, like they used to say like we are COVID hero. And after that, due to the vaccination, they said like you guys are not heroes, you guys are zero. So I would like to appreciate each and single politician who always support the, like the driver community, especially Mr. Matthew Green. I really appreciate it, and Amarjot Sandhu, and the all politicians actually who joined this event today. Thank you.
So while trucking remains a male-dominated industry, we also have some truck driver sisters with us here today, and I would like to invite Tanveer to share some words.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. To all ministers, organizers, and my trucker mates, thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak about trucking here. I'm Tanveer Kaur. I've been trucking in from last 4 years, and it was not easy for me. So my family was against me when I took this decision, but I convinced them. And in the end, they pushed me to start trucking, but it was not easy for me. I can say truckers are facing a lot of things, especially they're living far from their families for weeks and weeks. And they don't get paid like as they work hard, right? And you know what, the winter conditions are very bad, especially in Canada. We are facing, like in the snowstorm, we have to drive, we can't sit at home because we have to provide groceries, everything to you guys, to our community. But still, they don't get paid after that, right? So we are gathered here for low wages, wages theft, the main issues truckers are facing nowadays. I'm requesting to the transport minister and all other ministers to make a good laws in upcoming days so we can overcome from all these issues. On the other hand, I'm inviting to the women truckers in this field, and I'm always here to help you guys. Seriously, just contact me, I'll help you guys. And I wanna see a woman community in this trucking field. Thank you so much.
And our final speaker, before we hear from our elected officials, I'd like to call up Peel Region Labour Council President Ram Selvaraja.
Thank you, everyone. It was really heartbreaking to learn that you spend your hours away from your family, working hard, and then you can't feed your families because you're not being paid what you're owed. That's unfair. It's not about the amount of money, it's amount of dignity of labor. We work, you guys are not looking for a handout. You're not saying, give me free money. You have wasted your blood and sweat to earn this money. As Peel Labour Council and all our member unions, we are committed to justice for workers in the region of Peel and across Ontario. That is why my members are putting their dues to help you guys stand on your own foot. We're not asking you to be with us, we're asking you to stand on your own foot. And these steps, these brave people who have stood in front of you to tell you their stories, to show, it's not easy to talk about how you are being ripped off by someone. And that's what they've been done to them. They've been ripped off. We need to stop that. When I was coming today, I was looking for, as union activists, we get different t-shirts with different slogans. I couldn't find one with stop the trucks, but I found one with stop the trains, right? But what we need to do is through the region of Peel, every day billions of dollars of goods are being moved. We need to stop the trucks. The number of people in this room only represents a fraction of those who are brave enough to come and speak out. There are thousands of others that are out there. As we said, I'm looking at the demographics of the people that stood in front. They're all young, educated people, smart people that want to provide for themselves and for their families. What is wrong with that? If companies are allowed to, have different, exploit the business act to have multiple companies so that they can get away with this, it's unfair. If they're going to threaten to declare bankruptcy, I think we should go after the directors of their companies and their personal properties, right? You cannot be driving a new pickup truck when your workers are owed wages. When your workers have to borrow money or buy groceries on their credit card, you should not be allowed to drive a pickup truck. If you cannot run a business, you have no business in being in business. So without taking up much, we've heard these stories, right? Laws are useless if they cannot be enforced. And that is why we need a government that can enforce laws. And if you're in government and you cannot enforce laws, get out and make way for those who can. Right? So without taking up more time, I'm just pledging you Peel Labour Council's support for the truckers and workers in Peel. We'll be there with you 100%. My members, over 50,000 members in the region of Peel, will support you financially, emotionally, mentally, whatever it takes. Stop the trucks.
Thank you, Ram. I just want to reiterate how brave our drivers are. We've been threatened with lawsuits. We've had people calling from around the community and so many things. So I just want to thank everyone again that spoke out today. Can we give them another round of applause? Okay, so we have a lot of elected officials that came to the town hall today. Round of applause to all the folks that came out as well. Thank you so much for coming to hear from us. We have asked them to take some time to share their thoughts and plans of action regarding the campaign. So I'm going to be calling on our MPs and MPPs, but I also want to note that we have City of Brampton representatives here today too. Deputy Mayor Harkirat Singh, Regional Councillor Gurpratap Singh, and School Trustee Satpal Johal. Thank you for coming. So first, because we're focused, again, it's both levels, but we're seeing a lot of barriers at the federal level. I'd like to call MP Matthew Green to speak first.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, come on up. Sat Sri Akal Truckers Ji. I'm angry, so I have some notes, but I want to temper my anger a little bit. But before we get started, I just want to let a little bit out. Can I do that? I see everybody's very calm right now. I'm going to say bosses, riches. You're going to say stolen wages. Bosses, riches.
Stolen wages.
Let's try that again. Bosses, riches.
Stolen wages.
We're going to do another test right now because the people who had the courage and the strength to come up before us, they did it one at a time, one company at a time. I want to show you, I'm here with Ram and John. I'm here with the Peel Workers Center. I'm here with the Peel Regional District Labor Council. And I'm here most specifically as the only Labor Party in this country, a very proud member of the NDP. But there's an important thing about our party that I want to share right now, and it's an invitation. Hands up if you've had your wages stolen. Hands up. So as a workers' party, we're going to do an exercise right now because the cameras that are in the room, all they see is a town hall. I think it's important to see the impact. So I'm actually going to invite anybody who's comfortable to come up and stand shoulder to shoulder with us. Come on back up to the front. Every person who's had their wages stolen that's comfortable, come and do that. Stand up.
So ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਦੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਮਾਰੇ ਗਏ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪੈਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲੇ ਹਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆ ਕੇ ਮੂਰੇ ਖੜ ਜਾਓ.
They will try to take advantage of you one-on-one. Those with money and power, they will try to take advantage of you one-on-one. Those who've just arrived in this country, they think you don't have support. Those that would seek to withhold your wages, they think that you're standing alone. Which is why this exercise right now, for all those that are watching, for the bosses that are watching right now in these companies that lack integrity, to pay these sisters and brothers for the work that they've done, I've come here to say shame on you. We're going to try that chant again. I say bosses, riches. You say stolen wages. Bosses, riches!
Stolen wages.
Bosses, riches!
Stolen wages.
Sisters and brothers, I'm here today as a very proud deputy labor critic, all the way from the city of Hamilton. And when I got the call from Navi and I had the chance to meet with the workers, when I heard from the AZ Truckers Association, the stories, brothers, come on up. Come on up. Yes, please. Lovejock, Gogan, Manjinder, Karan. When I heard about the fast lane, when I heard about the $124,000 of theft from the Soul Freight systems, I got very angry. Because like was expressed, during COVID, you were called our heroes. That when we were shut up, you brought food across the country, medicines across the country, coast to coast to coast. You were driving with the PPEs to protect our frontline workers. You did that work. And you're right, you are the backbone of the economy. And it's an honor to address you because the values that you've shared today are values of our party. And what you're demonstrating today is that together as truck drivers, fighting for your rights collectively, not one-on-one, but as an entire community, you are demanding what is owed to you, which is your justice. And what we're hearing are so many structural issues that are allowing greedy people to take advantage of legislation that is not strong enough, that delays your justice. We have a saying in the labor movement, justice delayed is justice denied. Let's say that. Justice delayed? Justice denied. So we're here today to demand immediate action on those files. And I'm here today to honor you for refusing to be silent, knowing how much you've sacrificed, knowing that you're here sometimes under the threat of having your immigration status stolen from you and being sent back. You came here honestly. You worked honestly. We need to have a pathway for your citizenship from the moment you arrive that is not just tied to your employment, but is tied to this sector. Because if you're worthy enough to work here, you're worthy enough to stay. And so that's what we're going to be united here today as a community. And the demands, again, that you brought, they are the foundation of our party. We share your commitment to ending misclassification. Know this, sisters and brothers and community members. You are not alone in this exploitation. They're doing it in trucking. They're doing it with this Drivers Inc. model, whether it's Uber or food delivery or what have you. Cutting those corners, creating unsafe environments, and yes, stealing money from your paychecks, which is food from the plates of your families, and to that I say shame on you. You can no longer be denied the protections and the benefits that you rightfully deserve. And as New Democrats, we recognize that you're not mere contractors. You are skilled professionals who deserve the respect and recognition of full employee status. Yes. I travel back and forth to Ottawa, and I stop at those en routes, and I see you there in numbers, keeping this economy going, transporting stuff across the country. And I think about it when I'm driving in the winter by myself, never mind a big rig. And I recognize a few things, that when you fight for your workers' safety, you are fighting for the safety of everybody on the road. Am I right? Yeah. That the trucker's safety is the safety of every single driver on the road. And it is absolutely the government's responsibility to demand that that safety be enforced, that you're not exploited. You work hard to fuel the engine of our economy, and it's only fair that you receive a compensation that reflects the true value of your contributions. And I'm here with my provincial New Democrat counterparts, and I'm here with municipal politicians, and yes, I'm here with other parties. Your human rights are not a partisan issue. Those that are in power have a responsibility to protect your rights. And this unjust dismissal, this is a crucial safety guard that unions can protect you with. That you're seeing here today, that in numbers, yes, they might be able to fire one or two of you, but you have the ability to withdraw your labor from this sector and bring it to a standstill and demand your justice. We've seen it happen before, sisters and brothers. Respect at work is not just some lofty idea or something we should be putting on our campaign brochures or saying in the streets. We need to be demanding it in the legislatures. And we need to be defending it as a basic human rights. Your safety must never be compromised, and your demand from the protection of injury and death is a matter for us. We have a saying again in the labor movement. If an employer is negligent, if they're not fixing your cars, if they're making you drive too long and a worker is injured or is killed at work, that employer should go to jail. When I say kill a worker, you say go to jail. Kill a worker! Go to jail! We will work to ensure that your conditions are met, each one of you, leaving no room for compromise on your safety standards. This is a must. You call for better infrastructure, better roads. This is also about your safety. And the comment about the call for you to work internationally, to have you risk that. While it's true I could provide some protections and advocacies in this country, if your employers are suggesting that you go to the United States and break the laws there, you will do that with no protections. So it's important that you know each of your rights. We will advocate for the necessary improvements. I know I work with my colleague Taylor Backrack, who is our critic for infrastructure, our critic for transportation, and he is fighting for this. We're going to support that work. And specifically, when there's issues like this, sometimes you feel like there's no answer, that it's out of your control. But I will tell you that the Ministry of Labor has complete control over the enforcement of these laws. And as New Democrats in opposition, we will force this government to ensure that the enforcement that happens on the roads continues to happen. And I know that my provincial counterparts will do the same, and they'll speak to that. Because these laws that are drafted, these aren't words on a paper. They're tangible, enforceable guarantees that when you start that engine, you hit that road, you should leave being ensured that you're able to go home back to your families. And if they fail to do that, the harsher consequences of penalties, fines, they need to be non-negotiable. That if they owe you $124,000, $40,000, if they owe you $21,000 or $3,700, that's not negotiable. That's money that they already owe you. And we need to make sure that we stop and fight against that exploitation with tougher penalties. And I'll say this, when it comes to bankruptcy, the first person who should be paid as they sell off those fancy trucks with the car wraps and their fancy homes need to be the workers first. The bankruptcy laws need to be in place to pay the people who build the wealth in this country. I'm going to tell you this, it is workers who build the wealth in this country. And I just want to say, finally, I know my federal counterpart has come in. I'd like to recognize my dear friend Ruby Sohoda, who's come in today, and I know she'll have some remarks of her own. But specifically as New Democrats, our party's unwavering commitment to inclusivity and diversity within this economy is represented here in this room by you all. We will work tirelessly to build a future that respects the hardworking ethic of your community, regardless of your status, regardless of your origin, that you can come here and call this place home. So I'll say this in closing, my dear truck drivers. Your cause is a just cause. Your demands are just demands. And this nation owes so much to your labor and dedication, not just through COVID, but into our recovery. And I, as a New Democrat, I know with my leader, Jagmeet Singh, in the House of Commons, we will continue to listen and learn and fight alongside you, which is why it was important for you to come up here today. We will together march alongside you should you decide as a collective body that you're ready to shut it down. So together, let us march forward in unity and strength and forge a future where justice, equality, and the demands of your industry and respect will prevail. Thank you. Thank you so much, sisters and brothers. Thank you so much. Let us work together to build that better future together. Thank you.
We have MPP Amarjot Sandhu here who has to go to another event. So we're going to let you speak quickly and then we'll get back to our speaking list. So MP, you'll be next. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sat Shri Akal Ji Saਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ. First and foremost, thank you so much for allowing us to speak first because we have to attend a funeral. I'm joined by my colleague Hardeep Garewal, who's MPP from Brampton East. My brother Graham McGregor couldn't be here, but he has sent a representative, and Minister Sarkaria will be joining shortly as well. Great to see our NDP colleagues, Merit Stiles, Jennifer French, and Dolly Begum. Welcome to Brampton, and also the federal MP from Hamilton, and the federal MP from Ruby Sohota, and the colleague Deputy Mayor, and the councillors and school trustee. First and foremost, I would like to thank Justice for Truckers for putting this event together. I stand here first and foremost, with utmost respect and deep gratitude for our truckers. As my brother Raj was saying that, when during the COVID time, when we were sleeping at our homes, the truckers were the ones who were driving 24/7 to ensure that the essential goods, are being delivered. Medical supplies are being delivered to the hospitals. And also, especially we have seen during COVID that it is hard, it's a challenging job. And they've been facing these challenges and hardship from many, many years. So we just want to show our support to truckers, that we have always stood with truckers and will always stand with truckers, whatever the provincial government is, we always stand with our truckers, and they know that we always stand with them. Whether it was, providing access to the washrooms, most of our truckers were always complaining that they are not being provided access to the washroom, and we are the ones who provided access to the washroom. And there was the issue that was long overdue, and truckers were demanding that from many, many years. There was, air brake renewal test. And we are the ones who introduced that bill. Yeah, we were the ones who introduced that bill in 2019. In 2019, that, our truckers should be, it is only in Ontario that they have to give that test every 5 years, the renewal test. And good news is that starting September 1st, we're eliminating that test, and we're replacing it with the learning module. And I also want to thank Hardeep Garewal, Prime Minister Karia, Graham McGregor for their support for truckers as well. So we just want to assure you that we will always stand with you to ensure that your concerns are always listened and addressed. Thank you so much for having us, and I'll pass to Hardeep Garewal as well.
Thank you very much, MPP Sandhu, and I just want to thank him for all the great work that he's been doing for the trucking community. Even before I had the opportunity of being elected, he's been your advocate at Queen's Park. We talk about the changes that were made to the AZ air brake renewal test. That's something that's been years in the making that Amarjyot has been spearheading with the support of your organizations and with the support of you. So just a round of applause for my colleague here for bringing those great regulatory changes here at the Ministry of Transportation. Just like he said, at the provincial level, our government, our Premier, Doug Ford, we stand with workers. We're always working for workers, and we want to make sure that you all have access to the best facilities, to the best laws. And I want to also thank our NDP hecklers that are sitting in front of us, that when it comes to their turn, everybody respectfully listens, but when it comes to somebody else, maybe you'd like to grab the mic again, I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, as a provincial government, we're here for you. We're here for our trucking community. Just like my colleague said a few minutes ago, we understand the challenges that you face, and wage theft is completely unacceptable. So we will enforce whatever we can under the laws given to us and protect our trucking community and make sure that you guys are successful, because when a trucker is successful, our economy is successful. If you see food on your table, thank a trucker. So once again, I want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity of being here, and always know that we're in your corner as the provincial government, and our Premier Doug Ford will always work relentlessly to protect workers' rights and to protect truckers. Thank you, everyone.
Guys, I just want to reiterate that this is an event by truck drivers. It's, as MP Green said, it's nonpartisan, which means every party should be supporting this, and we're reaching out like the drivers. This is about them, okay? So they get a chance to hear from every single person. If we've invited them, they get a chance to speak. So I'm going to ask if anyone else has any comments like that, we're going to ask you to leave, okay? So again, this is about the drivers. So next, I'd like to call up MP Ruby Sota.
Hi, Matthew. Thank you for the shout out earlier. Good afternoon, everyone. So anyways, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here. Really, I don't have a big spiel to give, because I think this gathering is about listening to the issues that truck drivers are having. I also encourage you to continue to bring those issues to all the members of Parliament in Brampton and in whatever riding you live. I know that Brampton is an area where there may be a majority of truck drivers. I know I have many residents in my riding that are in the trucking industry, but I also know there's truck drivers all across Ontario. And so I would say that continue your advocacy. You've been doing great. I have heard some of the issues. The federal government has also heard the non-payment issues that have been coming to the Labor Court, and we have continued to emphasize throughout this last year, and now there is an education and an awareness campaign also happening for employers. And that's not the only thing. I mean, there's enforcement action and fines when employers are found not to comply. But there is overall an awareness campaign that things are not going as is, and that there is misclassification at times. So I hear you on that. Please bring those issues forward to me. We are against anyone being misclassified without their knowledge. I also encourage, and I think through this organization for Justice for Truckers, a lot of awareness has been raised, so I want to thank the organizers. It's provided a lot of education for truckers, new people in the industry, as to what your rights are, what type of a an employment situation you're getting yourself into. I think, you have the choice to make, and the employer also needs to be clear as to what rights and what responsibilities both parties have in the choice of being an employee or being a self-contracted worker. So that's all I'm going to say here. I'm just here to listen. My door is always open. I don't think you'll find many people that will say that I'm hard to get a hold of. And I continue to vow to be accessible, whether it's for truckers or on any issues. So stop by my office, write to me. We can sit down, we can divide how we can advocate these issues. I'm in your corner. I want to help you get good results for the issues that you raise here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Ontario NDP Leader Marit Stiles and Ontario NDP Deputy Leader Dolly Begum. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm Marit Stiles. I'm the new leader of Ontario's official opposition NDP. And thank you. And I'm really, really happy to be able to spend the afternoon here with all of you. And I want you to know, after I finish speaking, and my colleagues too, we're going to stick around and listen to your questions, to listen and talk with you more. But I really wanted to start by saying how much I appreciated listening to you all tell your stories. And I want to acknowledge the courage that it takes to do that. So thank you so much for your courage in speaking out and in being here today. I'm joined here by Deputy Leader and MPP for Scarborough Southwest, Dolly Begum, who's an amazing, amazing MPP, and our MPP for Oshawa, Jennifer French. And Jennifer, is also the official opposition critic for infrastructure, transportation, and highways. And after I speak for just a couple of minutes, I'm going to throw it to Dolly and Jennifer to speak a little bit specifically about a few things. But I do want to start by saying thank you to Justice for Truck Drivers, to Labour Community Services Appeal, for Justice for Workers, and of course to Ram and John and everybody at Peel District Labour Council. We really appreciate all the work you do. And others have said this, but we all know that the work you do is essential. It's essential to our economy. So much hinges on the work that you do and the ability to move those goods around this vast country of ours. And I want to thank you for that, because I know it is too often overlooked, and it's not easy work. Spending hours on the road, hours on the highway, day and night, away from your family, away from your loved ones. We know this is no easy job, and that it's a work that's full of risks, especially when an employer throws you out on a long journey without the proper training or the proper tires, or forces you to take risks to stay safe in weather that is more and more treacherous and unreliable and unpredictable. I imagine that it comes with a lot of stress as well. You guys juggle a lot, and you show up and you get the work done. And when you work a job where there is so much at stake, you deserve employers that respect you. Not steal from you, right? You deserve dignity of title, not misclassification. You deserve employers that will treat you as employees, not leave you stranded by the roadside. And you sure need employers that aren't going to wash their hands of your safety and your rights by labeling you as independent contractors. We know that that's a ruse to abuse the hard work that you do and to hold back the wages and plunge you into dangerous situations. All you're asking for is fairness, right? You're asking for fairness, you're asking for justice, you're asking to be hired as an employee. It's so simple, and yet it holds so much meaning. An employee in the province of Ontario is supposed to be protected under labor and human rights law. An employee in Ontario is supposed to be paid through fair and legal means and on time. An employee in Ontario is supposed to be able to demand safe, better, safer working conditions. An employee is not subject to their employer's moods, right? An employee has power too. Now, for those of you who don't know, and MP Green already spoke about this already, but we're New Democrats, right? We're all New Democrats here. We're the party of workers. Our party was founded by working people, by farmers coming together with working people to make change. And our membership today is made up of workers. And that's why we believe so strongly in upholding workers' rights. Whether you're an independent contractor, whether you're misclassified or not, we are going to continue to stand with you. I want to tell you a little bit about some of the things that we are doing on this file, because I think it's really, really important. I'm going to let my colleagues talk a little bit more about it in a minute too. But I want you to know that we're very aware of the rampant wage theft that's happening, and also very aware of the unsafe working conditions in the trucking industry. And so we've been bringing those issues forward at Queen's Park in the provincial legislature over and over again. And we've actually even introduced laws in the legislature. And so far, I'm sorry to say, we haven't had the support of the government, of the Conservative government. But I do want to tell you a little bit more about it. Our northern MPPs, and I know we're not talking about this issue right now, right here per se, but our northern members of provincial parliament in the NDP, we've been fighting really hard to make highways safer, to ensure better training and working conditions for truckers, but also to make sure that those roads are better maintained. And I gotta tell you, the Minister of Transportation in this province should be hanging her head in shame. The state of our roads is despicable. And I want you to know that when I'm up in Northern Ontario, up at Thunder Bay and up there, people are talking about it. They're talking about the state of our highways. They know that it's the truckers' lives that are lost, and that your families should never be left wondering whether you're going to come home after that long drive, right? And that's the kind of fight that we're fighting at Queen's Park. But it is an absolute disgrace that the government has refused to thus far support our legislation. And over again, we've also called for those bad faith laws that a lot of us have talked about here to be repealed. On June 8th, our MPP, Dolly Begum, right here, called on the Labour Minister, the Conservative Labour Minister, that guy Monty McNaughton, who says over and over again he's a friend of working people. But when Dolly Begum called on the Labour Minister to enforce those wage theft orders during question period, that minister and that government did not support that. I want you to also know, before I forget, that we brought forward a motion to support Najawan Support Network's efforts to end the deportation orders against the international students. Yeah. And I also want to mention MPP Peggy Sattler from London. She introduced another law called Bill 28, the Preventing Worker Misclassification Act, just to place the onus on the employer to prove that an employee was not an employee and was in fact an independent contractor. It shouldn't be up to you, right? It should be up to the employer. Put the onus on them. And again, I want to tell you, unfortunately, sadly, the Conservative government voted that down. We've also called on the Ford government to repeal what they call their Working for Workers legislation, because we believe that we need actual legislation that's going to protect vulnerable workers, something that you have all identified in your campaigns. But again, we've seen over and over they refuse to strengthen those rights. And I will say again, I'm going to stay here because I'm not afraid of people criticizing me or asking me difficult questions. I would like the government members who have been elected in this region to do the same thing. They should be here all afternoon listening to your questions, answering your questions, standing up for you. it is not enough. It is not enough to pay lip service to these issues. You know, it's easy to stand up here like me. It's easy for me to stand across the aisle from Premier Doug Ford every single day and ask questions. It's harder to be on the receiving end, right? And answer back. I demand answers. You should demand answers. You entrusted them to represent you at Queen's Park. Let's see if they'll stand up for you for a change. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer French to talk just for a few minutes about some of the things that she's been working on, because they're really important.
Thanks, Marit. Oh, this is little. There we go. Hi, guys. My name is Jennifer French. I'm the MPP for Oshawa, so I was glad to head in here today and meet with all of you. I am the official opposition critic for infrastructure, transportation, and highways. So things like transit, that's not so much my bag, but everything to do with highways and across the transportation, that's where I'm interested. And I sit opposite the government. We all do, right, in official opposition, and I kind of go toe-to-toe with Carolyn Mulrooney as needed, right, that we watch the government, we raise issues. We have been hearing from truckers and we've been hearing from folks on the roads about safety. So as Marit mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work when it comes to calling for better road safety, especially up north. How many of you have had to drive in the snow and you're just praying that things go well? Yeah. Well, that's not going to make you get home safely to your families. That's not going to help us all stay safe on the roads, right? Which is what we want. So when it comes to training, there are huge needs. My colleague, MPP Lise Vaugeot, who's up north, Lise has been working with the Ministry of Transportation on specifics around insurance, training for truck drivers, and accountability for these owners and operators who are risking your safety. So that's something that's been happening. And in terms of, I have a petition at the legislature, which is actually about rest stops and about the need for, long haul truckers to have a place to stop, to text their families, to go to the bathroom, not through a hole in the floor, which is what we hear about, right? Like, you deserve dignity. So to be in this room today and hear about how gross the theft is, that is, okay, first of all, that's awful. I'm sorry that that is happening to you. That is not right. That is not fair. That is deplorable. But it isn't like that $3,700, that $40,000. That is more than money, right? That is your family security. That is about food on the table. That is about the family that you love at the home that you left, right? As we heard the stories about what it actually looks like when your family comes to be proud of you and see you in your community, and you've got some employer that is just treating you like garbage is wrong. There's a sign on the back here that says truckers Yeah. Truckers deserve dignity. Truckers deserve to not have to worry about providing for their families when they've already made a commitment to an employer that they're going to do a good job. Right? So we here have learned a lot. We'll continue to learn, but some of it's not new information. And I won't say our hands are tied, but I will say that we're sitting opposite a government that does a lot of head nodding, okay, and a lot of handshaking. But how about you guys help us hold them to account so that they actually do the damn work, okay? Because your families are worth it and you are worth it. You are valued, and we are here to stand with you and to thank you. So thank you for inviting us, but thank you for keeping us safe on the roads, for providing all the things that we talked about in terms of the essentials, but also thank you for your courage. That's not a small thing. That's a big damn deal. So thank you.
Dolly, do you want to say a few words?
Sat Sri Akal ji. Thank you so much. Everyone already spoke so beautifully. I don't want to prolong our speeches, but I do want to say one thing, which is what I found so beautiful today, just listening to some of the brothers and sisters, is how brave you are and how courageous you are to come forward and share your story. And it is so powerful. And then we also saw the demands that you have highlighted, which you have done the homework for the governments. For both levels of governments, you have done the homework. So my question to the governments, all levels, and I know that when we go back to the legislature, the provincial government, is we're going to ask, what is stopping you from making these changes? Because there aren't anything that we need to do or homework about, right? You have done that work. You have highlighted the problems and you have given us the solutions. Now it's a matter of the government coming forward and saying, you know what? Thank you. We have listened and we're going to take those charge. We're going to take action and make sure that you are safe and you get the rights that you truly deserve. One of the things that one of the brothers actually from NSN, one of the Nojoans, I should say, taught me. It's a beautiful phrase, a beautiful slogan, I should say, when we're fighting for international students and what they go through also with wage theft as well. And I hope you'll join me as I say this. Sadda haq! Sadda haq! Sadda haq! Thank you so much. You know we're with you all. We're going to stand 100% with you as we fight for your rights to make sure that you get the rights that you truly deserve. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to keep up the fight at Queen's Park, and I want to invite you all, to join us there at Queen's Park anytime you want to raise these issues. You've shown such amazing bravery and courage. We'd be proud to stand with you at Queen's Park and get the government to move forward on this. Thank you so much.
For sure, yeah. Thank you so much to all of the elected officials that came today. Rest assured, we are watching. So we are going to be seeing who is taking action beyond just words. So we are paying attention, right, truckers? Yeah, so actions mean more than words. So thank you again for joining, though. It means a lot, and we will continue speaking with you. We will continue seeing how you work with us, and again, we really appreciate it. Before we wrap up, we're gonna have one more quick speaker who didn't get a chance, from AZCTA Trucking Association, but everybody just stay in your seats for 15 minutes longer. We are having a skit that also highlights the issues that are faced by workers. So ek nukkad natak bhi hoga, hun sirf 15 minute da hai, oh bhi zarur tusi dekh ke jayo, and I'll just let you wrap up as well. Thank you again, everyone.
Hello everyone, my name is Sukhra Singh Sandhu. I'm the Vice President of AZ Canadian Truckers Association. So our association's motto is always clear. We raise our truckers' voice and their issues every time, everywhere, with every government, and especially with the wages theft that is very, very common now, not in the last these days. So see the all walls here, it's like full with the wages theft out. So our respected Ruby Sahota ji here and our MP here. So we request you, please, if there is a need, any amendments in the labor law, so please do it and please protect our truckers. और मैं अपने सब तो ज़्यादा धन्यवाद जिहड़ा मैं वेलकम अपने ट्रकर्स दा करना चाहना जिहड़े अज टाउन हॉल मीटिंग है प्लीज एक बारी बिग हैंड अपने लिए ताड़ियां मारो जरूर और we request you all truckers प्लीज यूनाइट आप उस जगह ते नहीं पहुंचे वी नो यूनाइट येट ਅਸੀਂ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਸੋਚੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਹਾਊ ਪੇ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਸਟੈਂਡ ਔਨ ਦਾ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮਸ when you have a unity like numbers there's not hundreds thousands we are thousands so when we unite on the platform in thousands so these governments these laws these politicians because these politicians all are respected because they elected by us so please respect each other so we can work together and with strength. So this is my humble request to all my truckers. First unite, like on the, there's a good platform. There's so many fake and there's so many, like we says, other things. So please join with the campaign of Justice for Truck Drivers. So please, I think in the next when we have there's any town hall, any get together, so we are in not in the hundreds, we are in the thousands. So please promise us that one. So thank you very much, and you have a good day. Thank you.
ਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਨਾ ਚੇਤਨਾ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਵੀ ਆਰ ਪਰਫਾਰਮਿੰਗ ਇਨ street play called Nukkad Natak. It's just for 15 minutes. I know it's in Punjabi, some people can't understand, but just you can see what is the workers are getting the trouble. Yeah. So, ਨਾਟਕ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਜੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਟੂਪਿਡ ਗਰਲ। ਸਟੂਪਿਡ ਗਰਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾਟਕ ਦਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਲਾਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਚੇਤਨਾ ਕਲਚਰਲ ਮਾਨੀਟਰ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਨਾਟਕ ਸਟੂਪਿਡ ਗਰਲ।
ਦਹਿਕਦੇ ਅੰਗਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਸੌਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਲੋ, ਦਹਿਕਦੇ ਅੰਗਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਸੌਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਲੋ, ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਲੋ, ਦਹਿਕਦੇ ਅੰਗਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਹਨੇਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਨੇਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਭੁਲੇਖਾ ਹੈ ਹਨੇਰਾ ਪਾਉਣ ਦਾ, ਨੇਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੇ ਭੁਲੇਖਾ ਹੈ ਹਨੇਰਾ ਪਾਉਣ ਦਾ, ਨੇਰੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕ ਵੀ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਲੋ, ਦਹਿਕਦੇ ਅੰਗਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਸੌਂਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਲੋ, ਦਹਿਕਦੇ ਅੰਗਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ
ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਸੁਖਮਨ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਆਈ ਹਾਂ। ਵੈਸੇ ਜੇ ਸਹੀ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ਾਂ 'ਚ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸੈਟਲ ਹੋਣਾ। ਦਰਅਸਲ 'ਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਜ਼ਗਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ। ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੁਜ਼ਗਾਰ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਬਜਾਏ ਧਰਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਸਲਿਆਂ 'ਚ ਉਲਝਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ। ਕਦੀ ਲਵ ਜਿਹਾਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਤੇ ਝਗੜਾ, ਕਦੀ ਗਊ ਮਾਤਾ ਦਾ ਝਗੜਾ, ਕਦੀ ਖਾਣ ਪੀਣ ਤੇ ਪਾਬੰਦੀਆਂ, ਬਸ ਪਾਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਹੀ ਪਾਬੰਦੀਆਂ। ਫਿਰ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੌਣ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੇਗਾ ਇਸ ਨਾਮੀ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਦੇਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ? ਆਪਣਾ ਦੇਸ਼, ਮਾਪੇ, ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਪਰਾਈ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਵਸਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਸੌਖੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ। ਘਰ ਛੱਡਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਰੋਈ ਸਾਂ। ਮਾਪਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਬੇਬਸੀ ਦਾ ਇਜ਼ਹਾਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਧਰਵਾਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਕਿ ਧੀਏ ਰੋ ਨਾ, ਤੂੰ ਜਿਸ ਮੁਲਕ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਲੱਖਾਂ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੋਕ ਵਸਦੇ ਨੇ। ਜੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਦੁੱਖ ਤਕਲੀਫ ਹੋਈ ਨਾ, ਤੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਮਾਰੀ ਤਾਂ ਸੈਂਕੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਤੇਰਾ ਸਹਾਰਾ ਬਣਨਗੇ। ਪਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਜੋ ਮੈਂ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਹ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਹੀ ਅਲੱਗ ਸੀ। ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਰਾਏ ਵੀ ਨੇ। ਲਾਲਚ ਤੇ ਅਮੀਰੀ ਦੇ ਘਮੰਡ ਨੇ ਕਈ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੋਚ ਨੂੰ ਭ੍ਰਸ਼ਟ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਮਜਬੂਰ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੱਥੋਂ ਜਲੀਲ ਹੋਣਾ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਸੁਣੋਗੇ ਨਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਕੰਬ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਇੱਕ ਮਿਹਨਤੀ ਤੇ ਇਮਾਨਦਾਰ ਕੁੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਕ ਮੰਗਣ ਤੇ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਤੇ ਸਟੂਪਿਡ ਗਰਲ ਹੈ। ਬਸ ਕੁਝ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੀ ਇਹ ਕਹਾਣੀ।
ਹਰਬੰਸ, ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਰ। ਹਰਬੰਸ, ਉਹ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਦੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੀ ਕਰਨ ਆਏ ਸੀ?
ਸਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬੈਂਕਟ ਹਾਲ ਵੇਖਣ ਆਏ ਨੇ।
ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਇਰਾਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਨੌਕਰੀ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਨੌਕਰੀ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ?
ਸਰ ਇਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ? ਕਿਵੇਂ ਛੱਡ ਸਕਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਨੌਕਰੀ?
ਦੇਖ ਹਰਬੰਸ, ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਚੇਤੇ ਰੱਖੀ, ਜਿਸ ਮਾਲਕ ਦਾ ਖਾਈਏ ਉਸੇ ਦੇ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਈਏ। ਸਮਝ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ? ਉਸ ਮਾਲਕ ਦੇ ਕਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਈਦਾ।
ਸਰ ਕਿਉਂ ਡਰੇ ਡਰੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ? ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਗਲਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਹਰ ਗੱਲ ਮੰਨਦਾ ਹਾਂ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ 'ਚ 2-3 ਵਾਰ ਇਹ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਜਿਹਾ ਸੁਣਾ ਹੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ। 10 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਸੁਣਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ।
ਉਹ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ, ਹਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ। ਐਡਾ ਬੜਾ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਖੜਾ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ। ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਤੇ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਖਾਧੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਂ। ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਮਾਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਕਸਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਛੱਡੀ। ਤੈਨੂੰ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਦਾ, ਯਾਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ?
ਯਾਦ ਆ ਸਰ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਭ ਯਾਦ ਆ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਯਾਦ ਆ, ਸਵੇਰੇ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੁੱਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਘੁਮਾਉਣ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਪੁੱਪੂ ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਲਿਫਾਫੇ 'ਚ ਖੁਦ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਮੈਂ।
ਉਹ ਤੂੰ ਟੌਮੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ? ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਨਾ ਜਵਾਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਗਲ ਪਾਤਾ।
ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਾਹਦਾ ਸਰ, ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਾਤਾ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਸਾਂਭਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ।
ਤੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਰੋਈ ਕਿਉਂ ਜਾਣਾ? ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ ਨਾ ਜਨਾਨੀਆਂ ਵਾਂਗ ਮਿਹਣੇ ਮਾਰਨ।
ਜਨਾਨੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਐਵੇਂ ਬਦਨਾਮ ਨੇ, ਮਿਹਣੇ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਮਰਦ ਵੀ ਟਕਾ ਟਕਾ ਕੇ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਆ।
ਚੱਲ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਹੁਣ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰ, ਕੁਝ ਕੰਮ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਲਾ। ਚੱਲ ਤੁਰ ਹੁਣ, ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਉੱਧਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ, ਤੁਰ ਪਾ ਹੁਣ। ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਹੱਦ ਹੋ ਗਈ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ।
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੁਲਾਇਆ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ।
ਕੀ ਨਾਂ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਤੇਰਾ?
ਮੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਸੁਖਮਨ ਹੈ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ।
ਬੜਾ ਪਿਆਰਾ ਨਾਂ ਹੈ ਬਈ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਅੰਕਲ।
ਧਰਮ, ਤੂੰ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਹੈ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ।
ਕਿੰਨਾ ਚਿਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਆਏ ਨੂੰ?
ਮੈਨੂੰ 6 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ।
6 ਮਹੀਨੇ? ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵਿਆਹ ਵੂ ਕਰਾ ਲਿਆ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ?
ਵਿਆਹ ਤੇ ਅਜੇ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਹੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ।
ਓਹੋ, ਚੱਲ ਵਿਆਹ 'ਚ ਪਿਆ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛ ਲਓ, ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ 'ਚ। ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੂੰ ਮੌਜ ਮੇਲਾ ਕਰ, ਹਲੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਮੌਜ ਮੇਲੇ ਦੇ ਦਿਨ ਹੈ, ਮੌਜ ਮੇਲਾ ਕਰ।
ਆ ਮੌਜ ਕਾਦੀ? ਆ ਸਾਰਾ ਦਿਨ ਤੇ ਆ ਰੈਂਟ ਤੇ ਗਰੋਸਰੀ ਦੇ ਆ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਖਤਮ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਦਿਨ।
ਤੂੰ ਨਾ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਅੰਕਲ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਗੜਾ ਲਾ ਰਹੀ?
ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ।
ਤੇਰਾ ਹੱਦ ਹੋ ਗਈ। ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ, ਇੱਥੇ ਨਾ ਗੋਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ, ਸਿੱਧਾ ਨਾਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ। ਤੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਨਾਂ ਲੈ ਲਿਆ ਕਰ। ਵੈਸੇ ਨਾ ਗੋਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਰਨੈਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ, ਜੈ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਜੈ ਜੀ, ਸਮਝੀ ਨਾ? ਤੂੰ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੈ ਜੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਰ, ਜੈ ਜੀ।
ਇਫ ਯੂ ਡੋਂਟ ਮਾਈਂਡ, ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜੈ ਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਹਿ ਦਿਆਂ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ?
ਜੈ ਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅੰਕਲ ਨਹੀਂ, ਇਹ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਅੰਕਲ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਛਾਂਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੱਲਾ ਜੈ ਜੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਰ
ਜੀ।
ਨਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਆਈ ਆ?
ਜੀ ਬੱਸ ਤੇ ਆਈ ਸੀ।
ਉਹ ਯਾਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੈਂਦਾ, ਮੇਰਾ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਕਰ, ਚਾਹੇ ਤੁਰ ਕੇ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ।
ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਰ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਦੂਰ ਹੈ ਅੰਕਲ। ਉਹ ਅੰਕਲ ਫਿਰ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਿਆ।
ਦੇਖ, ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪੁੱਛ ਰਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਆਫਿਸ ਕਿਸ ਲਈ ਆਈ ਹੈ?
ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਭਜਨ ਅੰਕਲ ਹੁਣੀ ਭੇਜਿਆ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਅੰਕਲ ਕਹਿ ਹੀ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ?
ਓਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੇ ਤੂੰ ਅੰਕਲ ਕਹੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਕਹੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਗ੍ਰੈਂਡਪਾ ਕਹੇ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ। ਆਈ ਡੋਂਟ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਦੈਟ।
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ। ਪਿਛਲੇ 2 ਮਹੀਨਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਖਰਚੇ ਦੀ ਬੜੀ ਔਖੀ ਹੋਈ ਪਈ ਹੈ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਜੌਬ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ ਪਲੀਜ਼।
ਦੇਖ, ਜੌਬ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਹਾਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਲਈ ਕੁਝ ਨਾ ਕੁਝ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ। ਤੂੰ ਕੁੜੀ ਸਾਊ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਹੀ।
ਤਾਰੀਫ ਲਈ ਸ਼ੁਕਰੀਆ ਜੀ।
ਦੇਖ, ਇੱਕ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ, ਤੂੰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਨਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਬੈਠ ਵੇਟਿੰਗ ਰੂਮ 'ਚ, ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਕੰਮ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਤੇ ਨਾਲੇ ਸੋਚ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰ, ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦਾ।
ਵੈਸੇ ਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਸੂਰਤ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਸੀਰਤ ਵੱਲ ਧਿਆਨ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਹਰ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਅੰਦਰ ਬੜਾ ਕੁਝ ਛੁਪਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਆ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਾਬਲੀਅਤ ਦਿਖਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਮੌਕਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ। ਹਾਏ ਹੋ ਕੁਝ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ।
ਓਹੋ, ਤੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਨਾ ਫਿਲਾਸਫਰਾਂ ਵਾਂਗ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਪਈ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਨਾ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕੰਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, ਜੌਬ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੁਝ ਸ਼ਰਤਾਂ ਨੇ।
ਸ਼ਰਤਾਂ? ਕੀ ਸ਼ਰਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੰਕਲ ਜੀ? ਗੋਲੀ ਮਾਰ ਅੰਕਲ ਦੇ।
ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ?
ਅੰਕਲ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਨਿਕਲੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਸ਼ਰਤਾਂ ਕੀ ਨੇ ਜੀ?
ਸ਼ਰਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਬਈ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਨਾ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਰ ਤੱਕ ਰੁਕਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ। ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਦਾ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸੌਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ।
ਸੌਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ? ਉਸ ਦੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਨਾ ਲਓ, ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਬੇਸਮੈਂਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਜਦੋਂ ਹੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਕੰਮ ਖਤਮ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਰੂ, ਮੈਂ ਉਬਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਘਰ ਚਲੀ ਜਾਇਆ ਕਰਨਾ।
ਓਹੋ, ਉਬਰ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ? ਮੈਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਾ, ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਆਇਆ ਕਰੂੰ ਆਪ।
ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਨੀ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੀ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੌਬ ਹੀ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ ਬਸ।
ਚੱਲ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ, ਜਾ ਕੇ ਨਾ ਵੇਟਿੰਗ ਰੂਮ 'ਚ ਬੈਠ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਮ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਤੇਰਾ, ਤੇ ਜੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਚਨ 'ਚ ਚਲੀ ਜਾਈਂ, ਜੇ ਕੁਝ ਖਾਣਾ ਨਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੁਝ ਖਾ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਨਾਲੇ ਸੋਚ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰ ਲਈ।
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਅੰਕਲ। ਜੈ ਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਫੇਰ ਨਿਕਲ ਗਿਆ
ਨਾ। ਅੰਕਲ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਨਾ ਕੰਨ ਪੱਕ ਗਏ ਮੇਰੇ। ਜਦ ਦੇਖੋ ਅੰਕਲ 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 ਹੱਦ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਯਾਰ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਔਰਤ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਜੈਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਤੱਕ ਹਿੱਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਤਾਂ ਹਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਹਰਬੰਸ ਨੂੰ ਹਰਬੰਸ ਉਰੇ ਉਰੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਕੰਮ ਲਈ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੂੰ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਸੀ
ਸਰ ਪੂਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਸੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੁਭਾਅ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਪਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਗੱਲ ਉਹਦੇ ਪੱਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਈ
ਨਾ ਫਿਰ ਤੇਰੀ ਸੁਪਰਵਾਈਜ਼ਰੀ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਚੱਜ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਵੀ ਲਿਆ ਕਰ ਬਸ਼ਰਮ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਹਰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ
ਸਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੜੇ ਦਲੇਰ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ
ਕੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਬਾਰਡਰ ਤੋਂ ਡਰੱਗ ਲਗਾ ਲਿਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਪਰਵਾਹ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੁੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਮਜਬੂਰੀ ਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਉਠਾਉਣਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ
ਯਾਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸ ਤੂੰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਬੇਇੱਜ਼ਤੀ ਖਰਾਬ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ
ਸਰ ਸਮਝਾਉਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਕੰਮ ਸਮਝਾਉਣਾ ਡਰਦਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਬ੍ਰਿਜ ਭੂਸ਼ਣ ਵਰਗੀ ਨਾ ਹੋ ਜੇ
ਭੂਸ਼ਣ ਉਹ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਭੂਸ਼ਣ
ਸਰ ਉਹ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲਵਾਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਫੈਡਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਤੇ ਮੋਦੀ ਦਾ ਹੱਥ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਟੋਮੀ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੜਨਾ
ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਾ ਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਡਰਾਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਉਹ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕ ਨਾ 2 ਵੇਲੇ ਦੀ ਰੋਟੀ ਲਈ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ